Alright guys, welcome to ThemFrags' first episode of A Beginner's Guide to Competitive Gaming, and in this episode we're going to be showing you some of the basic strats that you can do on War Machine. First up is Snipe. Now this is arguably the most important 1v1 position on the map, and how it's played is all down to your player's playstyle. If he has an aggressive playstyle, he's going to want to push onto their side and try and take the 1v1 early. Now this would be an advantage to your team, but also leaves a massive risk of your player being downed by their team's Lancer fire. If he has a passive playstyle, he's going to want to sit back on the sandbag and wait for them to push, hoping that their player makes a mistake and that your shotgun or teamfire can take them down and eventually win the round. Next up is Cutoff. Now a Cutoff player has a lot of jobs to do, but his main objective is to stop their Cutoff player from damaging your team at any point. There's a few ways to do this, but the most favourable is to get out your shotgun and sit opposite them. Follow them up and down the wall as much as possible and make sure that they aren't hitting any of your team. Another job that the Cutoff player has to do is to cover your sniper with Lancer fire. Now if your sniper is being pushed, he can run across to the corner and get a good Lancer angle on their player. This can then lead to your sniper player pushing and obtaining an easy down and hopefully a kill. Next up is mid and vendors. Now there's a lot of different ways to play this part of the map, but it's all just basically team preference, so we're going to run through a couple of different ways you can do things and you can try out what you like. One of the most common ways to play middle and vendors is to sit back on this sandbag and drill directly across to the player on their sandbag. Now it may seem like you're not doing a lot, but what you're actually doing is stopping their player from getting a substantial amount of damage points, which could lead to a down on your team. If you want to be more aggressive, you can push up to the middle vending machine and then onto their cutoff and get a very good Lancer angle on their cutoff player. Now with good communication you can have 2 or even 3 players all shooting at this one guy at the same time. It'll lead to a very fast down. But what you've got to remember is you also run the risk of your middle player being completely exposed to the opposing team's Lancer. So what you have to do is be very quick and very careful about what you're doing. Middle players are also required to get an angle on the guys at grenades. Now if you shoot them enough they'll have to roll out of position, which will mean that your grenades player can get up there with a good flank to throw his grenades and to get good Lancer angles on their team. If things do get heated and you find yourself in a shotgun fight, always try and stick to the vendors and always try and keep right-hand advantage over the enemy. Next is upstairs. Now this is another 1v1 position. As you can see we're going to run past grenades. Now some players like to take grenades upstairs as they're a good way of making the opposing team roll out of cover. This leaves them open to your Lancer, or if you're confident enough you can push them with your shotgun and take the 1v1. Now most teams will send someone upstairs to contest against you, but as you can see in this case they've picked up top bow, which means that upstairs is completely clear for you to run around in. What you don't want to do is get too eager and push down their side. You want to come to Troika and get a good Lancer angle over the whole map. You can hit almost everywhere on the map, including cutoff, middle and grenades, and these players will have to then roll out of position, which can lead to your players downing them and then taking the round easily. Finally we have grenades. Now the player who plays grenades has to keep his eyes on a number of things. He has to make sure the opposing player doesn't sneak upstairs without him seeing, and he also has to watch the middle for pushes. He'll basically be using his grenades to try and keep their grenade player in their half of the map and hopefully getting a kill. He can also, as another option, throw his grenades to middle, as you'll see in the video, and hopefully gaining a kill. Here's a quick recap of all the positions we've just covered in the video. Thanks for watching and make sure to subscribe to ThemFrags to stay up to date with all the episodes of the Beginner's Guide to Competitive Gaming.